At the beginning of the film, we are shown a man named Arthur Fleck, who is making up his face to be a clown. He pulls his mouth to make a smiling expression, but tears flow out of his eyes. Arthur himself is a hired clown who works for a clown agency called Ha Ha. One day, he is assigned to be a clown in a music store that is almost bankrupt. Arthur's job there is to dance cheerfully while carrying a promotional board to attract prospective customers. Suddenly, the board that Arthur was holding was carried by a group of teenagers. Arthur tried to chase them down a narrow alley. Arriving there, the teenagers returned their boards by hitting them hard on Arthur's face until Arthur fell. Then the teens beat Arthur with words that sounded, "Quick, hit him, he's weak." But unfortunately, his boss even blamed Arthur for not returning the board belonging to the music store. In this film, it is told that the city of Gotham is experiencing a crisis, where it is prone to crime and unemployment is rampant. But the issue is not brought up to the media, where the media is busy reporting on the upper class, including Thomas Wayne, who will run for mayor of Gotham City. Arthur himself often comes to social services to consult and take prescription drugs for his mental disorder. He always said that in his brain, there were only negative thoughts that never stopped in his brain. On the way home from the psychiatrist's office, Arthur met a child who looked gloomy. Seeing that, he decided to entertain the child by making funny faces until the child laughed. But the mother of the child looked back and shouted at Arthur for disturbing her son. Instead of stopping, Arthur laughed so loudly that he coughed. The mother is annoyed, but Arthur shows her a card that says Arthur has a nervous breakdown where he can't stop laughing if he feels panicked or anxious. Arthur then returned to his apartment, where he lived with his old and sick mother named Penny Fleck, where Penny Fleck had worked with Thomas Wayne 30 years ago. Arthur and his mother have a regular habit of watching Murray Franklin's television show. Murray is his idol, so he wants to be a stand-up comedian too. Because of his fans, he had hallucinations to come directly to Murray's event, and Murray adopted him as a child. Arthur's eyes burst into tears while watching the Murray show. Arthur himself has a book that contains his jokes, his outpourings and negative thoughts, as well as techniques to make people laugh and so on. One day Arthur came to a stand-up comedy show. He also wrote down tips that need to be remembered to make people laugh, where he underlined that the funniest thing is, people who have mental disorders are required to always be normal. Penny Fleck for the last few years sent letters to Thomas Wayne, her former boss, but she never got a reply. At work, Arthur is given a sheriff weapon to protect himself by his coworker named Randall. Arthur has tried to refuse, but Randall is still adamant about giving him the weapon, and he says that Arthur can pay for it at any time. Arthur also has a friend named Gary who is both bullied by his coworkers. When he returned to his apartment, he shared an elevator with a woman named Sophie with one child. They just stared at each other and had little chat with Sophie, who demonstrated shooting herself in the head with her hands. The next day, Arthur followed Sophie everywhere because he was attracted to her. In the evening, Sophie came to Arthur's apartment to ask if it was true that he was following her. Arthur confirmed, but Sophie's reaction was not angry. Arthur also invited Sophie to come to his stand-up event. At the stand-up event, Arthur panicked, making him laugh to himself. But Arthur was still able to read his jokes book, but only Sophie was seen laughing. The next day, Arthur got a job at the children's hospital. Arthur seemed cheerfully dancing to entertain the pediatric patients at the hospital. But suddenly his gun fell to the floor. The news reached Arthur's boss' ears, so he was fired. Plus, Randall did not admit that he gave Arthur the weapon. Randall told his boss that Arthur took it. When Arthur visits the social service to ask for routine medicine for his calm, it turns out that the government has stopped funding for the social service. This makes Arthur unable to consult about his mental health and take medicine. In the train, Arthur met 3 people who were known to be employees of Thomas Wine who were flirting with a woman. There were only 5 of them in the carriage. The woman looked at Arthur as if she wanted to ask Arthur for help. Because Arthur felt uncomfortable and anxious, he ended up laughing out loud. This made the 3 men transfer their bullying targets to Arthur. The woman quickly ran away when the attention of the 3 men was distracted. Then Arthur was beaten by the 3 men, while at the same time Arthur shot the 3 people. He ran towards the public toilet, but instead of feeling guilty, he instead danced as if he had found his true identity. The news about the death of the 3 men became a scene. Many reports said that the incident was a form of resistance to the upper class. Since then, there has been a big demonstration in which all the Protestants wear clown masks. So the murder committed by the clown triggered the public to protest against the government, which oddly enough, Thomas gave his opinion that the people who wear the clown masks are only cowards from the lower classes. One night, Penny told Arthur to send another letter to Thomas Wine. Out of curiosity, Arthur opened the letter. How surprised he was that Arthur was actually the son of Thomas Wine. Knowing this fact, Arthur also came to Thomas Wine's house. There he met Bruce Wine, aka the little version of Batman. He had time to give a magic trick that made Bruce laugh. But suddenly Arthur was expelled by Frank, who said that Penny was dreaming, and Arthur was not Thomas's son. When he got to the apartment, Arthur saw his mother, who was on a stretcher, who was about to be rushed to the hospital by ambulance. He said his mother had a stroke, which was later discovered that the cause was because her mother was interrogated by 2 detectives who came to her apartment to inquire about the shooting of 3 men by a clown. Arthur, when being interrogated, just distracts while smoking chill. At the hospital, Arthur is accompanied by Sophie to take care of Penny. At the hospital, he continues to watch Murray's talk show. Arthur was surprised when Murray showed a video clip of Arthur when he did stand-up comedy yesterday. Unfortunately, the screening of the trailer was only to make fun of Arthur. He said that his jokes weren't funny with men. Once again, Arthur's feelings were crushed. When there was a riot in the cinema where Thomas was in it, Arthur entered the building secretly to meet Thomas, who was watching a movie. Arthur waited for Thomas to go to the toilet. Finally, Arthur met Thomas in the toilet. There was an argument, and Thomas said that Penny was delusional and had a mental disorder and had been treated in a mental hospital. Penny always imagined being Thomas's lover. Arthur is also the child Penny adopted when Penny was still working for the Wine family. Hearing this, Arthur relapsed and laughed so hard it made Thomas beat him until he bled. That night at his apartment, he got a call from the Murray talk show if he was invited as a guest star. He said the audience's demand exploded when Murray played footage of Arthur's stand-up video. The next morning, Arthur went to Arkham Mental Hospital, where his mother had been treated, to see his mother's medical history file. There he once again accepted the bitter fact that his mother had a delusional disease, and it was true that he was an adopted child. His mother was admitted to a mental hospital because he had beaten Arthur and suffered severe head injuries. This is what may have caused the nervous breakdown that Arthur is experiencing now. After that, Arthur's feelings were broken many times, and this time, he didn't take any sedatives at all. He returned to the hospital to meet his mother, and killed her mother by covering her face with a pillow. Arthur then returned to his apartment and entered Sophie's house. Sophie was shocked and asked Arthur to come out. Here, we just found out that when Arthur was close to Sophie, it was just a hallucination and imagination. The next day, while doing makeup and getting ready to come to Murray's talk show, When he was already wearing makeup, his co-worker friends, Randall and Gary, brought a bottle of drink to drink together, but Randall said that the clown at work was interrogated about murder. On the train, here Arthur feels uneasy plus his grudge against Randall. Arthur stabs a pair of scissors into Randall's neck until he dies. Arthur let Gary go, but because of his short body, he couldn't open the door. Arthur opened the door and told him that Gary was the only good friend of Arthur's. On the way to Murray's talk show, Arthur was chased by two detectives who used to interrogate him. Arthur ran into a train full of demonstrations wearing clown masks. The detectives had trouble finding Arthur, so the detective pointed a gun in any direction so that everyone could see him. Pulled over, but the detective accidentally shot one of the demonstrators. Because of this, the two detectives were beaten by the demonstrators into a coma. Television station Arthur meets Murray, and he wants to be introduced as the Joker, as Murray teases him in Arthur's video clip. When the show started, Arthur entered spectacularly until he kissed one of the old female guest stars. After that, Arthur was asked to read one of his jokes, which turned out to be not funny. Actually, Arthur had realized long ago that he was invited only to be ridiculed, so negative thoughts were running in his head. After reading the jokes awkwardly, Arthur finally admitted that he had killed the three men in the train. Arthur said that the media was too biased at the top. Everyone was busy debating when the dead man was different. If a lower-class person like Arthur died, they would surely die. As if nothing had happened and did not feel the slightest sympathy. Arthur says everyone only cares about victims because Thomas Wine cares too. That's totally unfair. When everyone was noisy and shouting to get Arthur out, Arthur, who was carrying a gun, shot Murray in the head right when the camera was on air. The news became headline news everywhere. The city was getting more and more chaotic by demonstrators wearing clown masks. They assumed that Arthur was their representative. In the midst of the riot, the Thomas Wines were at the cinema, and they were sneaking up on the back street. However, one of the demonstrators wearing a clown mask shot Thomas Wine and his wife, leaving Bruce Wine alone. Arthur was taken in a police car. Along the way, Arthur saw the demonstrators getting more and more chaotic, who destroyed and looted the whole city. Suddenly, the car containing Arthur was hit by an ambulance, which was actually brought by one of the clown demonstrators to free Arthur. All the demonstrators asked Arthur to get on the hood of the car because they thought that Arthur was their leader. Arthur finally got the recognition from others, as he had dreamed all along. Some time later, Arthur became a patient at Arkham Mental Hospital. He met again with a psychotherapist who had previously treated Arthur. In the middle of the conversation, Arthur laughed to himself. Then the psychiatrist asked Arthur to tell his jokes, but Arthur said you wouldn't understand. Some time later, Arthur came out of the room with bloody feet. After that, he danced, indicating the joke that made Arthur laugh was when he killed the psychiatrist. Thank you for watching. Click the subscribe button so you don't miss more movie recap updates. See you later.